Well, Stu, that was great. It's great hearing you again. I've been following you for a long time in different projects, and I really, really enjoy your story writing. And
well, thank you. Appreciate
it's
that.
one of a kind. That's why I wanted to get you in here. So, yeah.
It's a cool setup. It's really nice in here.
Thank
I
you.
want to bring my whole band up, you know.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We definitely
We're
got
gonna
to
definitely have to schedule that because your band, it's a different sound with your band.
Yep.
So, do you write all the music for the band?
Usually, you know, I have recorded like a cover song here or there over the years, but mostly and I co-write with people too.
Okay.
Some I've written by myself, some I've co-written. I have two guys, Carl Gambler and Mike Woopert, and Woopert was was Kenny Rogers' production manager for about 10, 15 years. So
nice.
Him and I write together often.
What's the writing process normally like for you?
Well, I have to be kind of inspired. Now, my two buddies, Mike and Carl, they're always writing down little, like something comes in their head and they write it down in a notebook, and they have notebooks of all this different stuff, and they got a little bit here and a little bit there, where I get something inspires me to write something, and I don't move on to anything else until that one's done. Where like some of my partners will write half a song and then stop and come back to it later, and then in the meantime they've written another half song.
Now you don't write. You write lyrics first, and then you try to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes what I'll do is make notes. When I wrote the song "They're Still Heroes," I wrote down little notes of what I wanted to say in the song, and then I would go down through the notes and I'd like what word can rhyme with this and that, and you know. And I get it out that way. And sometimes it's just comes to you, like in 15 minutes you got a song wrote.
Is there any songs you wrote about experiences you've had personally?
Well, They're Still Heroes was a lot of me in that. I'm a Vietnam vet, and so that song was written for Vietnam vets. And there's other ones too. I can't remember in the back of my head exactly which ones, but.
And you have that as a single? Or is that on?
That was a single.
Okay.
Well, it was on at the time, cassettes were big, and so we had it on cassettes. And it went to number 10 on the charts, and it got us out on the road with doing shows with Charlie Daniels and the Allman Brothers, and
Sweet.
Reba McEntire and Hank Jr. and a whole bunch of different.
Is that
people.
when you played down in Nashville?
We played down in Nashville in that Wrangler thing, and we also did a whole summer at the Peckway Silver Mines, which was a local thing but all the big acts came there, and we got to do all the opening shows for like 2 summers down there, and that really got me a lot of connections and stuff from doing that.
Well, since we're in the whole situation that we're in right now, what would you say to your friends and your fans who normally come out and see you play?
I think now's perfect time to be doing this kind of stuff where you're putting shows online. I just had a call from Masonic Villages, and they want me to do a show and almost like a TV show, and then give it to them, a link to them, and they can put it out to all their people in that complex there. And
that's very cool.
I think that's something that we should look at, because they're going to pay us for that show that we're doing for them, but then we can take that show somewhere else.
Yeah.
And get paid numerous times for that one show.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you set the archetype up.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, of course.
Make sure that it's like a professional thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to do like a 3-camera setup.
And that's the whole band?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since this pandemic, as far as either performing or writing or recording?
Well, I've done a couple shows that are outside and the social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And then I did a little bit of writing. I want to do a kind of a live CD, but inside. It's like kind of just going in the studio and just playing live and not do all that overdubbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was a time when that's how they did stuff. They, I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, that sounds still relevant. The sound is still relevant. I mean, when you put people in a room, I mean, even with the album that Jamie and I have been working on with the rest of our guys, you know, we laid down the rhythm guitar, the drums, and the bass first together.
Scratch
Right.
tracks, but
Yeah.
then,
Like, you know,
then we went back and fixed them all.
Yeah, we ran it in separately, but we ran all those together to get that room sound.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to get that, you
Yep.
know. And we
Well,
think that's important.
And that's how I'm recording right now with Trey, because
Yeah.
it's all live. He doesn't
Trey
want to do
Alexander.
tracking.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do tracking. He
Right.
wants to do all at once.
Yeah. Why? Well, my daughter Carrie and I did a CD together, and we did the
I just
very
seen
last.
that post. The
Yeah,
post
yeah,
about
we
your-
saw that. We were looking at
Yeah.
that this morning.
The last song on the CD was "All Hat No Cattle."
Yeah.
And we decided just to do that song. We're all going to play. If somebody messes up, we're not going to go back and overdub it. We're just going to start over and do it. And
Yeah.
I think we actually went through it in like one take.
Nice.
And it came out, it was one of the best songs on the CD, I think.
Now, is she still performing?
She does, but her husband is in the Air Force.
Oh,
He'll
wow.
actually be retiring soon, but she's been doing Christian music, and she
Oh.
puts it out on Facebook and stuff.
That's
and
awesome.
Really writes.
And what's her
really good
name?
Stuff. Carrie Edwards.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, let's check her out on Facebook.
So let's talk about your horse.
Okay.
Gotta talk about the horse.
Yeah, we
were laughing about it earlier because he was like, yeah, he probably, you know, he has to wake up early, man. He has to go feed his horse whiskey. And I was like,
That don't sound right.
you know, it sounds like right.
Well, years ago, I had a horse named Whiskey for about 5 years, and then well, it was many years ago because I sold him right after we got married, and I didn't really want to sell him at the time. I'm sure Roy Rogers is pissed off at me about it, but I was getting married, and then I had to get rid of my horse at the time, and I sold Whiskey. I sold him to the New York Police Department.
Nice.
And luckily I did, because 2 weeks after I sold him, the barn burnt down and a couple horses died in the fire.
Wow.
So it turned out to
Some things happen for reasons.
5
Yeah.
years, a fifth. I'm seeing a common.
yeah. And so for many years I did not have my own horse. I have a good buddy, John Rissinger, and he's always had horses and had uncles that have horses. So I just rode them, and then back in March I got my horse Duke, and he's still a little wild yet. I'm in the training process with him. And,
So while we're on the subject of animals, we gotta talk about this bear story, man.
the what?
The bear Vietnam story.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta talk about this.
Okay. You saw the picture? Did you ever see the picture?
Yeah, you had mentioned it to us when you were here, and we were kind of laughing about it. But
Well, there's over in the jungles. There, we had tigers and elephants and snakes, and they had deer and bear. And so when we're out at night and we're on like an ambush or what would be called a listening post, because you can't see in the jungle, you can't see your hand in front of you. And something set off one of our claymore mines, hit the trip flare, and it turned out to be this bear. And, of course, killed the bear, but it had, there was a bear cub with it that was okay. And I said we should keep it and train it like one of our dogs, like they had these dogs. I wanted to keep it, and make it a pet and have it, I'm sure it would have scared the VC more than a dog coming down.
that's a good.
But we couldn't do that. They ended up shooting it. But I tried my darndest to keep it.
I wanted to keep the bear. Oh, that's awesome. So what's next for you, man? What are you gonna keep doing?
Writing,
Yeah.
riding my horse. I've been riding my horse a lot.
Yeah.
And I got thrown off a couple times when I first got him. But we're doing much better now.
When I was on
You
the
gotta
drive
create
here.
that relationship with your animal. You'll be fighting with him until then.
Well, see, when I first got back from Vietnam, my third day that I was home, I bought a horse, and he was a Greenbroke horse, which means he may have had somebody's on his back at some time, but he wasn't really broke to ride. And so I trained him, and it took me about a month to get him really trained well. And then I just rode off into the woods. I'd come home, take a shower and stuff, get some food, ride out and sleep out in the woods. And then my horse and my little dog named PJ, and to do that, kind of get my head straight. Because
Yeah.
I came back from Vietnam right home. Back then, we didn't have any psychiatrists checking us out and all that kind of stuff when we came home, and it's really hard to
And there wasn't much support.
come
here
down from
there wasn't as much support here from Americans.
True, yeah. Corps back from Nam, and we were thinking about being mercenaries, and I'm trying to think what the country was then that Nicaragua, I think it was, and so we were going to hire ourselves out to Nicaragua, and then I just happened to want to see a friend of mine, and he was Wayne Zerger was in his garage, and there were a couple guys there, and they were putting a band together. And so I said, let me sing a couple songs with you guys. So I started singing. The next thing you know, I'm in a band, and I'm like, well, I'll just do this. This is better than getting shot at. Mm-hmm. So I've been singing ever since.
And so tell me a little bit about some awards you talked about before that you've gotten.
Well, I got a Songwriting Award. There's every year there's a thing with, I'm trying to remember the name of the ISC, I think is the name of the company. And they do a big songwriting thing. And I think I came in third or something for that. And then with the band, we were actually one of the 10 best bands that weren't signed to a record company.
Yeah, right.
And then we came in out of 50 bands. Well, if you look at it, bands all over the country were in that contest.
Yeah.
And they chose one band from each state, and we were chosen from Pennsylvania. Went down to Nashville, and out of the 50 bands down there, I think we came in 4th or 5th, something like that.
Is that how you got certified? You said something about.
Oh, well, the
country
the governor and the the governor and the Senate of Pennsylvania made me the country music ambassador of Pennsylvania.
Nice.
I still have the plaques and everything. As far as I know, they didn't ever do that for anybody else, so I'm still the ambassador.
you deserve it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I wrote a song for an outdoor show. And at the time, it was called Pennsylvania Outback. And I wrote a theme song to it called Under Pennsylvania Skies. And so I would go in every Wednesday morning and put the music in the background of the show and everything. And it did that for about 3 years. And then they changed the name of the show to Outback USA. So that particular song didn't fit them as a theme song anymore. And I don't know, I kind of got out of the project at that point. So I don't even think that the show's on anymore. But it was a cool thing, you know.
Yeah.
Made a little money and got to do. And if you guys were familiar with Smokey Roberts, the Diver's Den, well, under his store there for scuba diving, had a whole TV studio there.
Wow.
And that's where we went and did all the putting the music in and stuff like that, and editing the show. And he was a good guy. And I just came across a tape of him that when my daughter and I were doing a show at the American Music Theater, he came and taped it for us.
Wow.
Videotaped
Awesome.
it for us.
Sweet.
And it's on a DAT tape, and I don't have a DAT player,
Nice.
so I gotta find someone who has one.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that the conversion of technology with that stuff, because I have like some of my dad's old reel-to-reels. I have like some cassettes. I actually found they have a thing now where you can put the cassette and you can actually just put it right into your computer, and it'll make it like a file you can put on your phone or something.
Right, yeah.
You know, and they have people who convert the reel-to-reels and stuff like that, but with like floppy disks or DAT or stuff that you're talking about, you gotta look for that. You gotta go digging.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Well,
And I was just straightening up my studio yesterday, and I just got tons of tapes from stuff we did down in Nashville and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking at it, I'm like, man, that's a whole part of my life right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
What's that theater down there in Nashville?
Like Carnegie? Or...
The Opry?
Opry.
Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
Didn't you play there?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I played there with the River Band. In fact, you can see that. That was in, I think it was like 1989 when we did that. So we look a little different back
I never got to see the Opry. I was on tour down there, and we saw the original Opry House, where it's right there, almost on the main drag there.
Yeah. Got the back door and go right into Tootsie's.
Yeah, that was the original one. And then we went past it on the highway. We could see it on the side.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go in there, but, we're on tour. We have a schedule, and it was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy you played Good Old Days, man. I love that song. I remember I was at the Hempfield High School, and you were playing with my dad for like a Philly or a chili festival.
Yeah,
I remember I was trying all these sweet chilies, and he's like playing these songs, and I remember you playing that, and I really resonate with that Hershey line. Like, they let you take stuff until dark, and they don't let you do that anymore.
You can't take your own food there anymore.
Yeah, I really like that. I
remember that too.
See, when I was a kid, our church went up there for a picnic every year. And they had these bleachers you set in, and you get your coolers out, and all the food you brought, everybody shared the food and everything.
Well, I remember going in the park, and they had pavilions in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can bring your coolers and have picnics in there.
And their buses would pull in, people get out and put their stuff right up on the tables.
Yeah.
And now you can't do that. You got to buy all your food there and everything.
Yeah. Well, that was a while ago for me. I mean, considering that I've been out of high school for a while now,
Yeah, me too.
That's been a little while for me. So it's great to hear that, what I'm trying to emphasize is that I like when musicians have a song that they like to play and that they've put out, and that they'll still play it regardless of the time.
See, that's a perfect example of how I write as far as getting inspired by something. Because the day I wrote that song, I was at Union Station down in Columbia, and a friend of mine, Jay Harry, I grew up with, we're just having lunch, and we started talking about things we did when we were kids. And after that, I went home and wrote that song in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
How'd you get started? Who inspired you to start playing?
Merle Haggard was one.
How old were you when you picked up your first instrument?
Probably was about 11.
Nice.
My dad played, and him and the neighbor played out in the front porch, and that's basically how I got started. My dad got me this little guitar, and I could sit there. I didn't know any chords or anything. I just sit there and strum it, But when he died when I was 9. So when he died, our neighbor Parker, he taught me how to play then, and so I just went from there. Played in church bands first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And I was like, it was all these old guys and me, I was 11, 12 years old. These guys are all in their 40s, 50s.
They probably thought that was cool, though.
Well, that's how, what?
They probably thought
I
that was
respect
awesome.
that, because that's how I kind of got my start playing out. I started in a blues band with guys that were 20, 30 years older than me.
Yeah.
And, they've already been on tour. They've already done this thing, recording, and made a business out of it.
Yeah.
I'm just coming in young, trying to get started, and that's who you should really learn from. And, it was I'm glad I started off that way, because, now I'm going backwards. I'm working with younger people.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, and the same thing for me. Like, my dad was a drummer, so he was always carrying around all that gear. So no better way to learn how to be a gigging musician than to follow around the person who has the most gear and can keep it organized. That'll
Really... Now, your dad, he couldn't downsize.
No, he could not.
One time we were going out to the river at my brother-in-law's cabin, and I said, we're going to go out there and just sit around with acoustic guitars, and I said, just bring a snare drum or something, and you got a whole drum kit bringing it out,
Well, here's what Dad told me one time. I said, Dad, you have a lot of stuff. Do you ever think about, like, not bringing this much? He's like, no, I just think about doing it faster.
I always look now, I'm looking for speakers that are lighter.
Yep.
And they make stuff now.
They do.
This big, that did the work of something this big before.
Yeah, my Bose is a heck of a lot easier to carry around than my Fender.
You don't have to carry those amps for the speakers anymore, and all that stuff.
Well, Stu, thank you so much for coming in, man. We had an awesome time having you on the show.
My pleasure, man.
We're so glad
what
to
you guys
have
are
you,
doing is really cool. And
I
just got an email today because I was talking. You guys know JC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, JC contacted me about this songwriting thing for vets. Vets are just getting out of the service and stuff.
Yeah.
And mentoring and helping them.
That's awesome.
With their songwriting and stuff. So I think I'm gonna get involved with that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
So
man.
we're definitely going to be in touch again, and I'd love to hear your band.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fans would love to hear it.
Yeah, we'll get them up here. You know.
I really appreciate hearing you, man. You're one of a kind.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Well,
thanks for having me up, guys.
Yeah, until next time.
thank you.
Hey guys, it's Justin
And Jamie.
from Creative Sound Studios Online. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, subscribing, and watching these local artists perform.
We really do this from the bottom of our hearts, and with your support, we can continue to help performing artists and musicians. So if you'd like to donate, there's a donate link on the website. Only give what you can. I really think you're going to enjoy what's coming up. And once again, we thank you.